Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment on the Urban Wine Club. Today, we have a very, very cool segment, an educational segment that, the resident master Foti, my co-host and partner, is going to school us on something really cool. So thanks for joining us, but I'm going to turn it right over to Foti so he could get right into it. What's up, Foti?
Ari, how's it going, my brother? Thank you so much for that great intro, as always. You make me feel extra special when you do the intros.
All tingly inside?
Tingly, yes. And speaking of tingly, this is actually one of our coolest segments because we often don't discuss this subject, but we're going to break down, or we're going to give you the intro to Greek spirits.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Because we have some really cool Greek spirits, and I know nothing about them. I don't know what they are. I don't know, outside of drinking, I don't know.
Right off the bat, the national Greek spirit of Greece is
Ouzo.
Ouzo, right? We've all had our fair share of Ouzo, whether it was shots in the club, Greek nights.
I mean, Ouzo is literally synonymous with anybody. You say Greece, there's a couple of things. If you're talking about drinking and partying, and you talk to a non-Greek about Greece, they're going to think Ouzo. If you're talking about food, they're going to think gyro. We have these kind of like stereotypes, and Ouzo is definitely one of them.
Absolutely. But there's more than just Ouzo that comes out of Greece from a spirits perspective, right?
Yep.
So we're going to actually go into it and discuss a little bit about Ouzo, but also there's Tsipouro, Tsikoudia, and Raki that actually are all Greek spirits that we've either heard of, probably tried, but maybe have no idea what they are.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this: another spirit that a lot of people associate with Greece is metaxa.
Well, yes. So metaxa is actually brandy. No, metaxa.
Okay, all right.
Metaxa. Metaxa is brandy, and brandy by definition is actually it's distilled wine. What does that mean? So brandy comes from grapes. It was created and started in what we believe is France, modern times, but it has roots to ancient Greece and Armenia and Turkey and so forth. But that's a great subject for another segment.
Yeah. Okay.
But metaxa is brandy. And metaxa has actually placed, I think, Greece on the map as well over the years in the U.S. market because it was so well marketed and distributed throughout the country.
Yeah, that the marketing goes a long way.
But
so what the spirits we're going to talk about, Ouzo, once again, is very famous. Everybody knows Ouzo. So the other ones, they're I'm assuming a little lesser known in depending on the generations and the audience or the consumers. But, as Greek Americans growing up, I'm sure we've come across a grandparent, an uncle, or your dad, someone in the family that makes homemade Tsipouro to some degree, right? Well, my mom's family is named Tsikoudia.
So there you go.
We always used to joke that they invented Tsikoudia.
So you just made an important point right now. Tsikoudia, its origins are from Crete, but Tsikoudia is also known as Raki, which has origins from Crete.
Yes.
So let's kind of break down real quickly because there's Tsipouro, there's Tsikoudia, and there's Raki.
So what's the difference between? Well, you'll get into it.
That's right. I wanted you to ask that question. So right here, we're going to discuss what is the difference. So basically, Raki, Tsipouro, and Tsikoudia are basically the same thing.
Oh, interesting.
Right? It's just that we'll discuss what they are, but it's just that it's the location. So Tsikoudia is basically from Crete, Raki is from Crete, and then Tsipouro is from anywhere else in the country of Greece outside of Crete. So so Ouzo and these great spirits of Raki, Tsipouro, Tsikoudia, I know, what are they? We like them because we drink a lot of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ouzo, which is the national spirit of Greece, every taverna, ouzeri, restaurant, the classic iconic image of, grilled octopus with like a short glass of Ouzo that's either been diluted with water, that cloudy, famous look, or neat. But Ouzo is a little different than Tsipouro and Tsikoudia, and the differences are that Ouzo is a spirit that's made from alcohol and aromatic seeds. So there's a lot of aromatics that go into the process of making Ouzo, right?
Which gives it a very distinct flavor.
Right. So Ouzo can be made from either grain alcohol, a neutral alcohol to begin with, and then they distill it with a whole bunch of different ingredients. But the main ingredients that gives that distinct flavor in Ouzo is anise.
Mm-hmm.
Anise is basically that driving flavor that's in Ouzo. But a lot of what goes into these processes with Ouzo is, there's fennel, there's masticha, there's coriander, there's cinnamon, there's cloves, there's even ginger and orange. There's depending on the producers, they like to add their own little touch on their production of Ouzo.
I seriously didn't know that it had that many things going on. I thought it was just like the anise and.
So when you start to become an Ouzo aficionado, which I think you are soon, you'll be able to kind of, if you sip on Ouzo straight and give it some time, let it just savor on your palate, you'll be able to kind of pick up these distinct little nuances and flavors that we just discussed. But depending on who's making the Ouzo, they're using different types of raw ingredients to make the base alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Base meaning is where they start. They can use grains, they can use molasses, some of them use raisins. It depends who it is, and then they add in all these extra herbs and seeds into the production to come up with these flavors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the short version to understand how Ouzo is made.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of using a base spirit and then adding these aromatics into the production. Okay, that's Ouzo. Tsipouro is a little different and interesting, where most wineries in Greece and in other parts of the world, but let's talk about specifically in Greece, most wineries, after they're done fermenting and pressing their grapes, there's obviously what's called the leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
Leftovers meaning the collection of must after fermentation and grape and wine production is over. There's grape skins, seeds, pulp, all this that's left over, and instead of actually wasting and getting rid of it, it's actually used once again to produce a distillate. So they actually take all of that and they distill it in a pot. So they boil it and they distill it and they get alcohol from it and they bottle it. So it's almost like their version of maybe moonshine.
I was going to say moonshine.
They take all this, they put it into a pot and they let it boil, they let it distill, and from it they get a clear spirit that they call Tsipouro. So it's basically the result of the leftover must, grape skins, grape seeds, sometimes even like stems, that gets put into another vat and it gets distilled. That's Tsipouro. So Tsipouro is made from grapes.
Tsipouro is made from grapes. All right. I am learning once again because I really... So even though it's something so common to my life and culture, if you just sat down and asked me, I'd be like, I don't know. It's alcohol. I don't know.
It's alcohol, right? But it's interesting that this is a process that nothing goes to waste.
That's awesome.
It's like the green factor here.
That's the Greek style,
right? So there's a good amount of wineries that actually have a twofold operation. They make their wine, and they'll also make their own Tsipouro from what's left over. Most wineries, on the other hand, will actually just sell off all that extra must to distillers so they can make their local Tsipouro.
So Greek wineries will do this. What about non-Greek wineries? What do they do with the waste? Do they do any version of their own, or do they?
Absolutely. So another example would be in Italy. They do the same thing, and in Italy, their Tsipouro is known as grappa.
Oh, grappa. Okay.
That's grappa in Italy. And in other parts of the world, they do the same thing. In France and in Spain, they have a similar process. So yeah, there's a reason for everything when it comes to this. So even though in Crete, the term changes. So in Crete, it changes to Tsikoudia.
Because of my family.
Right. So thanks to your ancestors, we have Tsikoudia. And Raki is a term that's been used over the centuries because that's also the term they use in Turkey during different points in our time during pre-Ottoman occupation and so forth. Raki was the term that was used for Tsipouro, and it stuck around.
Do you have any idea where the term Tsikoudia came from?
Tsikoudia is a term that originated from Crete.
Okay.
But because of occupations over the years and all this influences from Turkey and so forth, the Raki was also used. That term was also used in Crete as well.
Well, it sounds like Raki is the more formal term, and then somebody, maybe it was my family, snagged it and started making it and called it Tsikoudia.
We need to report on this, let me tell you.
I would love to find that history.
Right. So all very great productions that I believe, I've tried different types of distillates from around the world, but today's producers are really, really honing it down and making some of the best. And when I mean best, what does that mean? When it comes to distillates, it's all about the flavor and the smoothness. Mm-hmm. They could be pretty harsh because they're high in alcohol, but there's a lot of great smooth distillates like Tsipouro and Tsikoudia coming out of Greece today. I have a couple that are right behind me that I can just maybe let our audience know. Like, for example, there's two locations in Greece that happen to be islands that are considered the echelon of production of Ouzo. So the island of Chios, right, and the island of Lesvos is considered to be making some of the best quality Ouzos out of Greece.
Interesting.
So one of the most iconic brands which we have with us is from Plomari. Plomari is an area in Lesvos, and this is from Barbayani. Barbayani happens to be a very popular, recognized Ouzo brand, and we're fortunate that we have it as well in our platform. So this is their Ouzo from Plomari. That's Plomari Lesvos. And then we also have a Tsipouro from a mainland producer that also makes wine. And that also, the winery also is in our platform. But this is from the Katsaros family. And Katsaros is in Thessaly, a little bit mountainous area, but they make exceptional wine, but they also make exceptional Tsipouro. And this is their Tsipouro that was also available on our platform. Yeah. Very smooth, very tasty, and very clean finishes. They really, they really take this serious. And again, I go back to mention that prior to maybe 10, 15 years ago, most of the Tsipouro that was consumed was homemade.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember being younger and having like this, like home bottled like Tsikoudia that like will just knock your socks off. You go blind.
Right. Or you can use it as paint thinner. But and then the Raki selection that we have actually to show you from Crete is actually Raki that's been distilled with honey. They takes on a new term called rakomilo. So this is from Crete. It's from the Roots Distillery, and notice a beautiful color
Yes.
because it's been actually distilled with actual local honey from Crete. But this is Raki with Meli, so Rakomilo.
So this has, if I remember correctly, because I'm not looking at the bottle right now, but I remember looking at it. Yeah. So hold it up higher. Yeah. So it has. It looks like it has less alcohol.
Yes.
Are the other ones 40 proof?
They're 40 proof, yes.
And that one what? 25?
25.
So what is? Do you know what's going on there? Why?
It's the sweetness in the sugar from the honey that brings it down.
Okay, interesting.
But that doesn't mean that you can drink more because it has less alcohol.
That's what it means to me.
But and you know, these are classic staple items in these parts of Greece that we're just coming to like learn and discover and enjoy.
Yeah.
But you know, we've always come across folks or people in our network that have heard of Tsipouro, have heard of Raki, have heard of Tsikoudia, but really don't know what it is.
But you know what? I'll also say this. I have grown up with these terms, but because I was either too young to like really enjoy that type of alcohol, it was just very harsh to me, or I would have, like I said before, some like home brewed just mishmash of whatever, and it was just like horrible.
Right.
So I've always avoided them. I've avoided them because to me, I just have these memories of this like harsh whatever. So now it's nice to hear that these are like very well made, very well crafted, much nicer, like smoothness to them. So they're not like just something that I feel like is like.
And let me add this, Ari. These are also great after dinner offerings, and they're also can be considered digestivos, where after a meal, having an ounce or two of Tsipouro Tsikoudia really helps with the digestive process of your meal.
I'll tell you right now that I believe that 100%, but I have my eye on the Rakomelo for that.
It's not going to work if you drink it before you eat the Ari.
I'm gonna before, during, and after. But the Rakomelo just looks like it's gonna be so good sitting down after dinner and having a little.
You know what's cool about Rakomelo? That it's like the Greek version of a hot toddy.
Yeah.
So, right? They you can take you pour in some Rakomelo in a Greek coffee pot. You can boil it over your fire with like some sticks of cinnamon.
Oh man!
Let it come to a boil. Pour that in a shot glass, and you're good to go.
Dude, if it wasn't like 500 degrees where I am right now, I would do it.
Unless we come up with an ice version.
Yeah. But man, Mark, put your calendars right now. The second it gets cool and cold out, that's my drink.
That's your drink right there. Ari Rakomelos.
No, Tsikoudakis.
Oh, Tsikoudiakis. It depends what time of the year you're in. But there you go, Ari. That's basically the breakdown of the intro to Greek spirits, which includes Ouzo, Tsipouro, Raki, and Tsikoudia. We all encourage you to at least explore and try one of these at some point.
Oh my God, absolutely. It's one of those things where if you travel, if you go to Greece, have all these things because it's going to be part of the experience. If you can't travel, try these things because that's the next best thing of like getting the atmosphere and feel of the places you go to. You go to Japan, you're going to have some sake. You go to like wherever you go, tequila in Mexico, like these things will give you that essence, and these amazing Greek spirits will do that.
Right.
For if you can't be there, and if you are there, even better. Like amazing.
I would take it a step further. I think that, in my opinion, it'd be great to see every Greek American household to have in their back bar a bottle of each of these selections there, because I think that it's important to our culture that we have these staple items always a part of our life. Yeah,
and if you have guests coming over, friends, family, and you have these things, I mean, it's always a good idea. And it's always like interesting, and it's not like, oh, here's like a beer. Like these are really cool. spirits to have on hand for any bar.
Yes, and for those that are interested, that are listening to this, we do have some great offerings, whether you can purchase any of these individually, but we also have some great packages that has bundles of the different spirits that you can actually order and enjoy.
Actually, now that I think of it, I think we should create one or two more bundles, because now I'm starting to think we have a couple of combinations that would be really cool together.
Absolutely.
So we have them individually, like Foti mentioned, and we have a couple of bundles, like, for example, the Great Greek Spirit Package.
Yes.
Then we have the Great Greek American Spirit Package?
The Greek American Spirit Package.
The Greek American Spirit Package. But now I'm thinking, like, there's a couple of combinations that we could add to that list. So.
Oh, no. You got the wheels turning right now.
Yeah. Keep your eye out for that, because we're gonna introduce a couple more. But again, they're all available. Try them out. They're really good. They're and definitely, if you're like me and you had, like, you're like 16 in Greece and you have a shot of Tsipouro or whatever, it's not the same thing. This is a lot better.
You mean the results are not going to be the same? That's what you meant to say.
Yeah. So again, thank you, Foti, for the knowledge that you bring. Everybody out there, thanks for watching and listening. Check them out on our platforms, Greek is on, Greek Wine Club. And thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. And we'll see you next time when Foti brings the knowledge once again.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.